Yeah, Mike could probably answer that.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more. Um, hope you like what you see. If you do, please subscribe and say you like it. I'm very happy to be joined again by probably one of the first interviews I had on my little YouTube project, Alfie Zappacosta, but we were in person the first time. Now we're on Zoom. Thanks for coming again.
All right. Well, thank you for asking.
I see you're about to become busy again. You're about to get on the road in April, early April into May. You're coming out to my neck of the woods here in the Maritimes. Um,
Yes, I am. I am. Was there a question there? I'm just sort of wondering. Yeah,
no, it's
I could go from there for sure. I just have to. Never mind.
you're one of the few artists that actually comes here on a semi-regular basis.
I
Um,
come as much as I can. Uh, I, how do I put this? I am not the kind of guy that at this point in my life that could sort of like command to like 3 4 thousand people in the theater and whatnot and come out to perform. There's it's not sour grapes when I sit there and say to you I'd rather the smaller crowds.
yeah,
If I could if I can get 3 4 5 6 dates in an area where I have to drive a couple of the 3 hours 4 hours to be able to do the dates, and it's not horrible weather. um,
yeah,
I'd rather do that because it's a smaller audiences, and I could do that more often. It's like I enjoy the performing part, and it took me a lot of years to be able to figure out that I did really enjoy it. But I wouldn't want to go out and do something like across Canada where you play for play for 3 4 2 thousand people and do the dates, and then you don't go back out again for another year or 2 years. So you do 5 6 7 dates or 10 11 and then go back out again. Um, so in a way, sort of like I'm quite happy about the fact that I'm not that popular. But so I could actually keep coming out and do the smaller venues that I really do enjoy and seeing the people and whatnot, and in the close surroundings for me to perform what I'm doing. I'm not intimidated by a small audience, and to be able to do that, and I could look at coming every year. So by the time I could do all of Canada, and knowing that I enjoy doing it, and I can go to small places on Vancouver Island. I was
right,
just at Port Alberni, White Rock. I'm going out to do Victoria again, and come back, and I'll do everything from a bunch of dates in Toronto, the bit northern Ontario. You mentioned Barrie, the
yeah,
Collingwood, those areas, Vaughan, and all these small places where I can get anywhere between, geez, in some private parties from 40 to 2,000, 3,000 people, anything in between. So not to mention the fact that and this is not bullshit. I mean, I love Canada, and when I get a chance at this point in my life to know that I can get out that way, be able to be in a car and drive around and see people and old friends and whatnot. I mean, I've had a long history with places like in Halifax and doing the theater that I first theater I've
yeah.
ever done. And so I really, really enjoy it. And I think, what am I supposed to do? Just age gracefully. But I am aging gracefully, and I'm going out and still doing what I want. I'll probably end up on stage one day and go, "Yee!" and drop dead, and that'll be fine by me.
Um, what kind of like are you just coming out and doing like the strip down show you would have done last time I saw you here in Charlottetown?
Pretty much. I find myself sometimes wanting to apologize for the fact that I can't have the band with me, but it's unsustainable to be able to look at the smaller rooms that I'm doing and whatnot, and to think about the costs of a band and whatnot. Now, in some cases, I can. I mean, it makes it very, very simple. I've written all these songs. All these songs are written, and when I use sometimes, I could just go ahead with my piano player when I work with is Silvio Pupo out there,
Right.
who lives on the East Coast. So I meet up with him and we go out and perform. I have a bunch of stuff that I do just as the duo, and then just to sort of pop it up a little bit. I have a computer with my songs, with my recorded like drums and bass and whatnot, to be able to have the people listen to the songs the way they were recorded, where I'm still
Right.
playing guitar, I'm still singing, the Stilvio's playing the keys. And so it offers a little bit more of an epic sound without it. well, feel like you're selling out and whatnot, and because it just isn't sort of that way. It's just like I would love to have some of my songs being able to sound like when they were up to a certain point, like a little bit more orchestrated. But like I
Right.
said, it's unsustainable. I can't, as you could just imagine, like be able to have four people, three people, six people on the road and in hotels and what.
Mm.
Well, it's and it's not even, I'm not going to even mention COVID. Once upon a time, there was a record company that would give you all the money and the support they wanted to.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore. But even back then, when it did exist, all the money they gave you for tour support and whatnot, they took off of your sales and whatnot. So if you were, it's very unlikely that you saw any money at the end of it, more so that you constantly owed them. It's not a money thing. It's a sustainable thing so that I can keep going out and doing what I love to do, which is to be able to sit up there and sing my songs and have people and hopefully have them enjoy it. That's the best I could do.
Well, it's certainly understandable. I mean, it's a cost thing because I talked to him mid-year not long ago, and
Mm.
he's coming over to America and he's doing this band in a box tour, which I guess is kind of like what you're
It's the
doing.
same thing. I mean, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a Midge for what was the name of the band that Midge was?
Ultravox.
Ultravox, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not just me. I realize it
Yeah.
is, but no, you sometimes you come up against some people and stuff like that, and going like, "Well, where's the band?" And I'm going, "Well,
Yeah.
guys," and and I could appreciate it. At the same time, like I said, it's not sustainable. Band in the box and whatnot, the way they want to call it. The world is opening up. Geez, I could probably do with what we were just talking about a phone, but.
Yeah.
Um, it's not as belittling as that. There's a lot more going on, obviously. We could stand there and I could probably do a whole night of just myself playing guitar.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'd be really boring too. So I'd like to be able to bump it up some. If it's a little bit in a box, as long as I could prove to people and people could see that there is
Yeah.
depth.
Absolutely. I saw your show here a couple of years ago in Charlottetown, and I was very impressed. Like, I mean, you didn't let it take over the whole show. I mean,
Wonderful.
you
Thank
you
you.
used it for like some color in the music in the live performance, but
I appreciate that.
you're still playing the guitar, you have a live piano player, and you're still singing. And I think it sounded great. It really did bring a lot of color. And if anyone's anyway, that you're coming out in April to Fredericton
Yeah.
and St. John, and then you're coming over here to Charlottetown, and you're doing 2 nights in Halifax, which I know you've played there a few times. You seem to really like going back there. Halifax must be a really good crowd.
Well, it's apart from the crowd and people that come out, like it always works out very nicely. It's I have a history, like I mentioned that my first taste of theater was doing Evita and at the Neptune Theater, and I was there
Right.
for many months, and I went back to do Jesus Christ Superstar, and I've done a bunch of stuff there at the Neptune Theater. And there's a place in my heart for the East Coast, and I'm not just saying Halifax because I love Halifax, but like
Yeah.
I being there and spending so much time that I did there, it's I couldn't imagine not coming back to the East Coast and to be able like, come out to the island and come out. There's whether I played to 30 people or whether I paid to 5,000 people, it doesn't matter. It's I like going back. The great thing is the distances aren't huge and it's just
Yeah.
wonderful scenery to see.
Yeah.
Everything about it is like a sightseeing trip in a lot of ways. Brings back a lot of memories that it brings back a lot of innocence. Things that first time I ever saw that was completely blown away about in the scenery and the people and whatnot. And every time I come back, I get reminded a little bit of that, and it's a great place to be in your head.
Um, Now you said something about playing with smaller venues and you seem to like doing the smaller crowds. Do you like it? Does it give you a chance to like meet with more people, like and talk to some of the audience members? Do you like doing that?
I could associate more with the people for sure. I could there's something to be said. I guess this is not sour grapes. I mean, I'm not out there. Obviously, if I was out there for the freaking money, I mean,
Yeah,
it's we're not stupid. I respect money, but we do enough dates to put together to know that everybody
right.
that everybody's kind of like not you know going in hawk. But um, I'm sorry. The question again was.
Do you like getting, does it, it gives you the
Yes, the
smaller
people, I'm
audience?
sorry, but to
Yeah.
be able to see them like that closely,
Yeah.
what I was going to say is in the bigger halls, lights are in your eyes. There's
Right.
people out there. You're just basically playing to a glare a lot of times. I
Yeah.
mean, if you get right up to the stage, you can see that the people are there. And you have a feeling, of course, of sort of thank you for coming. But you can't beat the fact when you're actually looking at someone and see their eyes, even with with a fellow that needs glasses and whatnot, to be able to
Yeah.
see that they're enjoying it or they're not enjoying it. It's a great source of being able to know where I should pick up or what I could do or how we're doing. But
Right.
9 times out of 10, if the people you can see that they're very pleased that you're there and they're happy that you're there. And I live off of that. I mean, that's the things that sort of keeps you coming back.
What kind of broad range of material will you be doing? Will you be covering like all your stuff, or is there something new that you're bringing out? Or
Well, I've got like about what 17, 18 records. I mean,
yeah,
there's stuff that nobody's even I'm obviously not going to come and do like a shitload of obscure stuff.
right,
But there are some stuff, things that weren't like were, post EMI situations where
right,
Capitol Records EMI and whatnot that a lot of people have not heard. So you can always count on the start again. You can always count on We Should Be Lovers. We could When I Fall in Love Again, Passion. There's songs that
yeah,
people could sort of like reflect on. Obviously, we can get back to that. And then I intersperse with some newer material and whatnot, and some things they never heard to throw some Italian out of them, and then just to the idea is to be as musical as possible, and still be able to give some of the people because you can imagine now I'm 71 years old, so I imagine that a lot of my crew and people that are watching now are you know, they're not
mm,
young. I couldn't possibly tell you what the younger folks are listening to these days because I really, not like I don't understand it. I just don't follow anything.
right.
It's their life now. It's their world. My world is if I can actually sit 19 and 19, 18, 17-year-old people that are out there and grooving on the stuff. I mean, wonderful. It may come back, you don't know, but yeah, I'll give them a good cross section of songs and some surprising stuff that is musical,
Yeah,
musical stuff that I worked on that even if they're not quite sure what the hell it is, it should be memorable. I have a lot of people asking me about some of the Italian tunes and some things that are very obscure that they go, "What is that? That's wonderful." And to hear those kind of things, obviously, you know that we're heading in the right direction and we're getting the right kind of response from people. So I feel that much more confident obviously I'm feeding off them. So yeah, but you'll be able to hear a good cross section. I put up a couple of more things. Uh, the way they sounded once upon a time, like got to get the letter. I've got to get the letter back
yeah.
to passion to a bunch of things that I've sort of like brought up into the forefront a little more.
No, well, I personally like highlighting the fact that someone that's been around as long as you still makes music today and probably makes as good a music today as you did 35 years ago.
Thank
And
you.
I like to promote that with all the artists that I interview that have been around for that long. I like to promote the fact that they're not just sitting around doing nothing. They do
No,
still write new music and they're still
I
at
have
it.
a record I'm working on. I should be finished the record in June. I've been kind of like working on it over the last year and a half, and it's up. Just after COVID, I put something out was called Saved,
Right.
and it was around COVID and talk about a crazy time. But then after all that, here I am now, probably come June. I'm not sure when, by the time it should be recorded, finished. I mean, it's a work in progress. It's pretty much there. But with Alma Records and distributed by Universal
Okay.
Records, that should be ready to start talking about a release. I should be finished in June, and then there'll probably be a couple of 2, 3, 4 months later that they'll actually release it. But as I mentioned, COVID the first time, so this time they want to take their time in doing it, and I'm quite proud of the fact that they're still interested enough to want to do something.
Right.
It's certainly not like the old days, but there is a new. We talked about it. There's like another 10 new 11 songs that I'm making myself crazy because I have to remember them all.
Well, nothing makes me happier to hear that you are working on new stuff because it makes me
Constantly.
really, I'm really excited to hear. like people of your stature still making music and hearing your new stuff. I can name a few bands I've interviewed already that are still making new music, and I want to hear it. I want to
Well,
hear it. I don't just want to
you're
hear
gonna
the
like
old
it.
stuff.
I'm sure you'll like it if it's the idea of it being musical. I mean, I love the blues. I love all sorts of music and whatnot, but it's like when I get together with people that want to come up and join in and play and stuff, it's I say them it's not the blues, it's not something we could jam on, you know.
Right.
So it's when I say musical, it's not because I'm like some heady fat ass bastard, you know, like thinking, you
Yeah.
know. But it's musical. It's maintaining that end of things and stuff. So hopefully people will be able to see it and like it. It's certainly not over anybody's head, you know, but um I definitely like, you know, I like interesting things. So I'm keeping it interesting for sure.
You definitely do. Like I've really, when I saw you play, I was like really blown away. You have a very eclectic, broad span of the kinds of influencing music you could do. Like I hear all kinds of different types of music coming. Maybe it's not totally influenced by it, but I can hear your, like
Influence.
you're, yeah, like it just, I can hear you totally expanding different kinds of music, and I like hearing that.
Well, I was afraid a long, many years ago. Please, there's nothing wrong with this, but there's the time when the record company and the you were wonderful cahoots with the radio stations and then the promoters and the people that get you touring and whatnot.
Right,
Radio stations would not be AM, FM, and the record companies would obviously get a wonderful partnership with the promoters and the radio stations and whatnot, and that form of music that they could do, and knowing that be it rock music, be it a blues rock or
right,
whatever melody, but it was easy for them to be able to put in a very tight package, and they put it on the road. And down that road, there were people that would do these concerts, radio pumping the music out for people to listen to, and everybody, if they followed suit, I guess what I'm saying is there was a very specific sound of music at
right.
the time. And if you rode that wave, your chances of selling a bunch of records
Yeah,
and having a bigger name for yourself would probably be quite it'd be a likely thing. I um, I was always afraid of being pigeonholed in some ways, you
right.
know, and I thought that a long time ago uh, that if I thought that if I kept myself in that little box, it would be very difficult to sort of bridge out. I suppose that people like, you know, give it like say the police would come
Yeah.
from something like that, but then they took the band breaking up for Sting to be able, I mean, I'm using that as an example, that
Oh, it's a good example.
all
Yeah,
of a sudden be able to show what that there's more there. But I guess that's a very isolated situation as far as there are others. I could just think of that one right now. But I was always afraid of I was talking to a friend a long time that I have a lot of respect for, and the whole band too. I don't need to mention any names, but I remember him touring constantly. Up to this point, like it wasn't that long ago that we actually talked, and he said touring and whatnot, and he says, Alf, the same 15 songs after year after
yeah,
year after year. They made it quite large, you know, in the 80s, so that by the time we made it that large in the 80s, so by the time there was so many songs that were happening that nobody, if they wrote a new record and whatnot, they were going, "Are you kidding me?" They don't want to hear that.
yeah,
Elton John, same problem. I mean, he'd have to do after a while because of the history, but uh, it's not like all of a sudden he did a record, all of a sudden you do nothing but that record for people. You know,
yeah.
you whatever examples, but you can imagine what I'm talking about. I didn't want to all of a sudden think that the only thing that I was going to do for the rest of my life is this branded top 15, 11, 12 songs that I could never, ever get away from.
Right.
Even a small scale from where I'm from, people still want to hear certain tunes that I can make sure I play for them. I'll play them a little differently, add a little bit of something to keep some interest up and saying that you've grown with the times. You know, you just can't sit. You know, you have to keep constantly expanding. So while I keep doing records, as long as I have any breath in me, I'll keep writing.
That I'd like to hear that. but yeah, and it seems now that you're not, like you said, pigeonholed into that record company industry thing. You're more free to do what you want to
Oh, it's
do.
for many years now because it doesn't exist anymore. That whole record company thing. I mean, now it's
Yeah.
your social media and attracting people to yourself.
But in the meantime, if you listen to some of the retro radio stations across Canada, you still get quite a bit of airplay from your classic stuff, which is
Yeah,
good to hear too.
yeah. There's some of that, but let's just say that we're not sitting on easy street, but we're just sitting comfortable enough now at this point in time in my life that we've put in a lot of our time and probably to be able to look at it and see like what's really important.
But it's
So.
also it's great because we can see you in a smaller venue though. I like that. I like the fact that I don't have to go necessarily to a 17,000 seat arena to see you. I can go to a little place like the Trailside here in Charlottetown and really enjoy the show. I can have a bite to eat while I'm watching you play.
Well, you
And
can count on the fact that most people that are going to be showing up for that are really specifically there to see what you're doing. I mean, not
yeah.
to say that those big, huge stages and that, I don't know how the people could do that. And I mean, it's wonderful. I suppose it's great and the big things on. It's again, I have to keep saying this is sour grapes. I really, this is definitely a choice. I'm happy with this.
No, I'm glad you're doing that because it's like I said, it's great to see you in a venue like that. I wanted to ask you one quick question before we go. You sang on Tears Are Not Enough, the Canadian version for Africa. Did you get a chance to see the We Are the World documentary about the making of that?
I haven't seen that. I heard a bunch of people say some really neat things about it, what did you think about it?
It was really good.
You
Because
liked it? Yeah.
like I said, I've interviewed mid-year, and he pretty
He
much.
did the English version of.
And the one thing he noticed when he saw the documentary was that they seemed to be a lot more organized than he was because they were in such a big hurry to do theirs.
Well, they came up out of nowhere. It was their idea. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, people saying, "Hey, you've got like pretty much a framework for everybody else to come together."
yeah. But he said they seemed to be more organized. Like they had the advantage that everybody that was there was at the American Music Awards that night.
Oh,
So a lot of those people were there in town, ready to
yeah,
go. It's like where he was like kind of like, are they going to show up? That kind of
yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
I don't know what it was like with the Canadian version. I don't know whether that was the case. I don't know whether it was hard to
No,
get
well,
everybody there.
it was well, we are when you start thinking about the industry from in Canada at the time was not a huge thing. I mean, the people like the once the David Fosters and the Bruce Allens, Lou Blair, people that were and a bunch of them more so Bruce Allen, Brian Adams, in
Right.
being able to make some phone calls to the record companies in Canada and to be able to see like it was an important thing to do and also sort of like a kind of cool thing to do for all the musicians to get them all together and say like um, it was organized as far as I'm concerned, very much so.
Right.
People that were all invited, I guess, had seen what could be done through in England, uh, the British Isles, um, to the Americas and stuff like that, and they couldn't be left out of that kind of situation. So, looking up and seeing the amount of people that came was really quite a wonderful thing. Um, but I have to say that me being there and seeing all this and saying hello to all these folks and whatnot like that, it just seemed like another one of those kind of an interesting, very interesting day. But didn't think much of it as much as like some people that come to me and they go like, "Holy smoke!"
Yeah.
And I no, it was nice. I mean, playing ping pong, pinball with Joni Mitchell. I mean,
Yeah.
really interesting. Just playing just normal, just yakking with you know what it's I'm talking to you and people are pretty much all that it's no they just come across like normal folks and anybody that was coming across with like a really head about them that like a jerk is a jerk is a jerk doesn't matter where they are and whatnot
Sure.
but for the most part everybody that I ran into were just down to earth and what you would normally think about people. Nobody was carrying any kind of great big of course not it helped in some ways Bruce Allen saying something along the line of leave your egos at the door.
Yeah.
I don't think there was really a big problem with that kind of stuff and think that or whatever, because, we're just glad to be there.
Well, the one thing Midge also said, he didn't realize how many cameras were actually covering when they recorded theirs. Um, and I guess they got a little documentary out of it too. Did you know how many cameras were there when
I
you recorded
don't.
yours?
I don't. There was they did obviously they did a little blurb of it, did like a video.
Yeah,
Um I was probably in the back of my mind thinking that there's probably going to be people taking pictures and filming and whatnot, but I gave it absolutely no thoughts whatsoever.
like
So think
if they were
about
smart.
mugging,
Yeah,
mugging for the camera. I
yeah.
mean, I don't think I could see myself, even the picture that was taken for everybody that was standing in the room and stuff like that. I couldn't possibly tell you where the hell I am. I couldn't find me anyhow.
Like if someone decided to do a documentary about the making of yours, would you be interested in doing an interview for it or something like that?
Before tears are not enough, you mean?
Yeah, if they decided to do a documentary like they did for
Oh,
We
if
Are
they
the
would,
World.
yeah, sure. I mean, at this point in my life, I mean, to be able to know that you were there, it'd be sort of like denying a bit of a history that there was absolutely nothing to, not a history, maybe going to jail or anything like that. That'd be a history
Yeah,
like meeting like a lot of, being in and around what was considered a little bit of Canadian history. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be very proud to.
right. Yeah, so you're getting out on the road, you're working on new
Yep.
material. It's great to
Yep.
hear. Hopefully you can come back and talk when you get your new music out.
Yeah, I
That,
can't
that
imagine why not. Sure, it's I'm sure you'll like it. If I like it, if I get a little past mine, then it's of course that's a little fat-headed thing to say too, but it's you don't have to like it all, just a couple of pieces.
no, I'm sure I'll like it a lot. I like hearing new music coming out of your the generation that I kind of narrow on, but
And there,
it
sure.
it's great to hear. It's great to hear, and it's great to see you like coming out here to the Maritimes at least once a year.
Well,
So
you make sure you come on by. Well, I'll have a cup of coffee or a nice sparkling water with you or something like that
I
because
wish I could this year, but I'm going to be in Ontario actually in April.
well,
So,
okay. Well, next time.
but I will if you come every year, I'll do my best to get there every year and come
And
up
next
and have a
time.
drink with you or something like that.
Thanks, Alan.
I
Okay.
can't thank you enough for joining me again. Safe travels. All the best, sir.
Okay, well, you have a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful life, and talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye bye.